Sarah was my big sister. People liked her. She had an outgoing personality. We didn't have a mother. We were raised by a grandmother.
It was something that really tugged at me, that told me that I need to solve this. They just seemed so happy. And then when you look at the crime scene photos and you see the horrific case, it was probably one of the most difficult crime scenes that I've had to see.
Police showed up at a hotel on February 1st, 2023. When the 60-year-old maintenance man left home earlier that day, little did he know the consequences of his alleged actions almost 40 years prior would come knocking. On March 14, 1984, police officers were called to an apartment complex on Ventura Way in Charlotte's Hidden Valley neighborhood. When detectives arrived, they found the front door open and a foul scent emanating from the inside. 27-year-old Sarah Mobley Hall and her 10-year-old son Derrick Mobley were gone inside the apartment. Heartbreakingly, both had been strangled with a telephone cord, and Hall had also been beaten. Sarah, a single mother whose mother passed away when she was just a child, worked with children with disabilities during the day. One of those special needs children was her son, Derrick. He was described as a very happy child who was friendly to everyone. Their lives ended a few nights prior to them being found, and though an investigation began, the case quickly went cold. At the time of the incident, the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department didn't have a cold case specific homicide unit.
As homicide detectives, what we did, we were able to either be assigned a case or pick up a case that might have some solvability factors when things were slowing down.
DNA identification was still new, so new that the first use of DNA technology for crime solving wouldn't be for another 2 years. Sarah and Derrick's case had been opened several times, including by Police Chief Johnny Jennings in 1998, who was a homicide detective at the time.
As soon as I opened that case file and as soon as I started looking at the crime scene photos and reading some of the statements, it was something that really tugged at me, that told me that I need to solve this case. You see their images of them during happier times when they were, you got a single mom trying to do the right thing and raise her son, and just to know that they just seem so happy. And then when you look at the crime scene photos and you see the horrific case, it was probably one of the most difficult crime scene photos or crime scenes that I've had to see, just because I almost felt an attachment to both of them, and I felt as if they were family members of mine.
When Jennings looked into the case in 1998, he discovered there was possible DNA from a suspect on a pillowcase she was found resting on. As progress was made, it was determined that there was indeed DNA and a profile was created. Unfortunately, the DNA did not match anyone in the system at the time. Despite the automated system which would rerun the samples over the years, still no matches were found. In 2021, using forensic genetic genealogy and familial searches took the forefront. Then came 2023, and a grant from the Bureau of Justice Administration made the final attempt to solve the double homicide successful. The CMPD knew that they needed to try something new. Investigators' efforts led them to a match, a relative of the suspect. The investigation took off, and detectives were led to a person of interest in South Carolina. With the help of the FBI, Charlotte police got a DNA sample from that person, identified as now 60-year-old James Thomas Pratt. Almost 40 years later, they had a direct match to DNA that was found on the scene. This was the first time in North Carolina's history that a fatality, in this case too, had been solved by matching DNA from the crime scene with a relative to the suspect that's in the nationwide database. The day following the match, February 1st, 2023, Pratt was arrested at a hotel in York County, South Carolina. The man was charged with 2 counts of first-degree fatality, extradited back to Mecklenburg County, and as of this video is being held without bail. Police said Pratt was fully cooperating with detectives. He was 22 years of age at the time of the incident, lived in the neighborhood, but was not a person of interest in the initial investigation. Though he has a history of misdemeanor arrests, nothing remotely close to the nature of the 1984 crime. Authorities revealed that James and Sarah had been friendly, but did not go into detail regarding a possible motive, citing the ongoing investigation.
There was a friendly relationship between Sarah and James. Part of our ongoing investigation. I've told you a lot of things, and we released a lot of things in 1984 that we probably wouldn't say these days about the case. So I've given you a little more detail probably than we would give you on a brand new homicide.
Can you speak to a motive on why he may have done this?
We don't exactly know that. We kind of know what was happening around the time and kind of what that relationship was. But the motive is still unclear. Back in the early days of this investigation, there were some suspicions about it being sexually motivated or drug motivated. We've been able to, we think, clear a little bit of that up and hone it down, but we really don't have a specific motivation.
Over the years, 4 different CMPD units tried to track down the person responsible. As one would expect, the relatives of Sarah and Derrick were elated about the arrest. Sadly, both of Sarah's parents passed away before ever finding out who was responsible for their daughter and grandson's passing. Her sister Mary Day thanked investigators for sticking with the case. Derrick's father was also very pleased.
Sarah was my big sister. People liked her. She had an outgoing personality. We didn't have a mother. We were raised by a grandmother. My mother died shortly after I was born, and Sarah kind of treated me as if she was my mom. She had a level of faith in me I didn't have in myself. After college, I spent a lot of time with her. Both her and Derrick, I stayed with her a lot. I worked not far from where she lived. That's when I found out what happened to her. My brother called me and told me what happened, and I carried a burden for years because I felt like I should have been with her. And I'm just so grateful that the police have found this person, and I hope he spends the rest of his days behind bars. I really just can't explain how relieved, it brought closure.
It was obvious that CMPD was elated about being able to take such a huge step in this case, bringing it near the end.
I tell you what's really cool, this press conference this morning just happened to coincide with our cold case review team, those retired folks. They're upstairs right now meeting, and they're going over another case as we speak, and this just happened to coincide with that. And so we were able to bring them that news this morning when the meeting started, and they're absolutely elated.
This is an ongoing investigation, and anyone with information is urged to call 704-432-TIPS, that's 704-432-TIPS, or provide information anonymously by contacting Crime Stoppers at 704-334-1600 or visiting www.charlottecrimestoppers.com. I will be following the outcome of this case, so be sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell. I do hope that justice is served. May the family and friends of Sarah and Derrick find solace in the happy memories, and may their souls rest in perpetual peace. Thank you.